Hello and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon. I'm Jurnee Taylor. Here's a look at some of the top stories we're following today. First, Congressman George Santos is refusing to resign from the House even as momentum builds to expel him. We'll take a look into the details on his next legislative move ahead of a potentially historic vote. Plus, as the end of a temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas closes in, Hamas is expected to release 10 more captives today after freeing 16 yesterday. And Little Rock neighbors expressed concern regarding unleashed dogs. Now, after decades of this problem, they're offering new solutions the city could use to bring awareness to the problem. We'll have more on those headlines soon, but first, a look at weather, and we cannot escape it. It is a gloomy and rainy day here in Central Arkansas, Scott.
You're exactly right. Gloomy, rainy, wet, cold. It is all of those things. And you know what, Jurnee? That's not going to change the rest of the afternoon. Here's the rain that we are tracking on live radar. It continues to build in. There are parts of Arkansas, specifically northeast and east, that you've not seen much yet. But of course, it's going to continue to build in and it's going to continue tracking off towards the northeast. It's just scattered all rain. In fact, we've not even really heard any rumbles of thunder yet. Not to say we won't, but we certainly aren't expecting severe weather in Arkansas today. Closer look into the metro shows right now in downtown Little Rock, we're dry at the moment. Maybe if you needed to squeeze a quick errand in, you could do it without the need for the windshield wipers, but there are certainly going to be more of those showers continue building in over the next hour or so. Expect a pretty wet afternoon, wet evening. In fact, the timeline of tonight's rain chances continues to stay pretty high even through midnight. I think we will start to taper things off after the midnight hour. That chance of rain comes down, and you know what? We'll probably see a little bit of sunshine by tomorrow. Temperatures across Arkansas right now, they're cold. We're in the upper 40s, low 50s, and that's not expected to change today. We are going to see better weather by tomorrow. Nice weekend forecast coming up as well, and we'll also take a preview of what we can expect next week. All that and more coming up in your 7-day forecast.
The House of Representatives is expected to vote tomorrow on whether to expel Republican George Santos. The New York representative addressed the crowd in front of the Capitol this morning and remains defiant. Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
This is bullying.
Republican Representative George Santos refused to resign and lashed out at members of his own party who introduced a resolution aimed at ousting him.
I'm fighting to defend myself and to dispel each and every accusation.
This will be the third attempt to expel Santos, who faces 23 federal corruption charges. A report from the House Ethics Committee alleges Santos broke campaign finance laws by spending campaign funds on Botox, shopping, and personal travel.
This is very expansive. This is fraud. He refused to cooperate with the committee, which is our self-policing thing.
In the history of the House, only 5 members have been expelled. 3 took up arms for the Confederacy during the Civil War. 2 were convicted of federal crimes. Santos says expelling him without a conviction would set a new precedent.
This will haunt them in the future, where mere allegations are sufficient to have members removed from office when duly elected by their people in their respective states and districts.
Santos now plans to introduce a motion to expel Representative Jamal Bowman from the House. The New York Democrat pleaded guilty to 1 count of falsely pulling a fire alarm in the Capitol last month. It would take 2/3 of the House to vote to expel Santos from Congress. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has died. Kissinger passed away at the age of 100. He rose to power during the Nixon administration, helping to guide U.S. foreign policy through the turbulent 60s and 70s. He went on to advise many presidents in the decades that followed and helped shape U.S. relations with China and the quest for peace in the Middle East. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the Middle East meeting with Israeli and Palestinian leaders to discuss the ongoing hostage exchange and peace process. Now, the negotiations come as gunmen opened fire on Israelis at a bus stop in Jerusalem. CBS's Ian Lee reports.
Hamas handed over 16 more hostages last night, including 49-year-old Israeli-American Liat Benin, who immediately called her family. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel today trying to get more hostages out of Gaza.
From day one, we have been focused relentlessly on trying to secure the release of hostages.
For its part, Israel has freed more than 200 Palestinians from its prisons. Many are teenagers. Hamas tells CBS News it's willing to provide evidence that hostages Shiri Bibas and her 10-month-old and 4-year-old sons were killed in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. Israel Defense Forces say they're investigating. Hamas is still holding roughly 140 people. Dozens of others have made it home.
I'm just grateful that they're here.
Moran Aloni describes how his 3-year-old twin nieces were forced to whisper in captivity. Now back with family, they're playing again.
For me, it meant that they chose life, even if they don't know it.
The pause in fighting means Palestinians can take stock of their lives, or what's left of them. About half the buildings in northern Gaza have been destroyed. And while the territory remains calm, Hamas claimed responsibility for a shooting at a Jerusalem bus stop this morning. 2 gunmen killed 3 people and injured several others before Israeli security forces shot and killed them. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
In a THV 11 update, Little Rock police have made an arrest from a shooting earlier this month. Police arrested 40-year-old Joseph Walker of Sherwood. He's being charged with capital murder. The original shooting happened just after midnight on November 20th at the intersection of Geyer Springs and Baseline Road. 28-year-old Robert Overton was killed in the shooting. Bryan police are also investigating the home that caught on fire, injuring one and killing another victim. On Tuesday night, fire crews responded to the 2800 block of Carywood Drive. When they arrived, the house was fully engulfed in flames. Now, according to reports, an elderly man was taken to the hospital for his injuries. However, an elderly woman was trapped inside and later found deceased inside the home. Officials launched an investigation to determine the cause of the fire. An Arkansas psychiatrist accused of holding patients against their will to collect Medicaid money is now facing formal charges. The state attorney's general's office, now charging Dr. Brian Hyatt with 2 counts of Medicaid fraud. Hyatt was on the state medical board but resigned amid scrutiny earlier this year. The AG's office claims Hyatt made more than $300,000 in fraudulent Medicaid claims while the director of the Northwest Medical Center's behavioral unit in Springdale. Now, these charges are Class A felonies, meaning he could face 6 to 30 years in prison and thousands of fines if convicted. Little Rock neighbors joined together to solve the problem of loose dogs in the area. They say it's been going on for decades now, and recently kids have gotten hurt from dog bites. This year alone, Animal Control has taken in more than 4,000 dogs, which is up from previous years. In Little Rock, no dog is allowed to run around without a leash, even in your front yard. Now, those affected in the Arkansas Community Organization offered solutions like posting more signs in the city about the leash laws and even suggests creating a billboard for more visibility.
This random dog just came over there and bit me, and the owner was not outside, and I was crying, and I was like, it was the scariest moment I ever had.
Now, if you see an unleashed dog and need animal control after hours, just call 311 and an officer will come check out the area. Right now, the Arkansas Martin Luther King Commission is holding a nonviolence youth summit in Little Rock. The commission continues to do great work. Attendees will have the opportunity to engage in discussions about mental health, financial literacy, and conflict resolutions. Today's summit started at 9 a.m. and runs through 2 p.m. at Hall High Gymnasium. It's free and open to the public. Our very own Ian Russell is there, and we'll have more on tonight's THV 11, 5, and 6. Well, how loud is too loud? Coming up, we'll take a look at the long-term effects of excessive loud noise exposure to kids and teens and ways to avoid them.
Dry right now across downtown Little Rock, but we're looking back off towards the west where more rain continues. It will be moving back into the area, and it'll probably be with us the better majority of today. When the rain comes to an end and the sunshine returns, coming up in your 7-day forecast.